What if the moment you brought life into the world, someone tried to destroy yours? This is the powerful, true-to-life journey of Keisha Williams, a black woman abandoned in the delivery room, left to raise her newborn son alone. But instead of breaking, she built something stronger than anyone expected. From sleepless nights and textbooks to becoming a nurse and motivational speaker, this story is about resilience, black excellence, and the power of a mother's love. Drop a comment if you've ever turned pain into purpose. Like, share, and tag someone who needs this inspiration. And don't forget to follow so you don't miss a single chapter of this unforgettable journey. Keisha Williams gripped the hospital bed rails as another contraction ripped through her body, sweat beading on her forehead as she prepared to bring her son into the world. The delivery room was sterile and cold, filled with the sounds of medical equipment and her own labored breathing. She had imagined this moment countless times during her pregnancy, picturing herself holding her baby with her husband, Devin, by her side, both of them crying tears of joy as they welcomed their child together. Instead, she found herself alone, abandoned in the most vulnerable moment of her life. The knock on the door came between contractions, and a man in a crisp suit entered with papers in his hand. Devin had sent a process server to deliver divorce papers while she was in active labor. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical pain she was experiencing. As she held the legal documents with trembling hands, reading about the dissolution of their marriage and Devin's demands for minimal child support, Keisha felt her world crumble around her. The man she had loved and trusted for 5 years had chosen this moment, when she was most helpless and dependent, to abandon her completely. Hours later, as she held her newborn son, Elijah, against her chest, Keisha made a silent promise. This beautiful child would never know the kind of man who could walk away from his own flesh and blood. She looked into Elijah's perfect face, his tiny fingers wrapped around hers, and felt a strength she didn't know existed within her. The nurses moved quietly around the room, their expressions a mixture of professional competence and personal sympathy. They had witnessed Devin's cruelty, and their gentle care spoke volumes about their understanding of what Keisha was enduring. The first night home from the hospital was the longest of Keisha's life. The apartment felt impossibly quiet without Devin's presence, yet somehow more peaceful. She sat in the nursery they had decorated together, Bannigan feeding Elijah and planning their future. The divorce papers lay on the kitchen table, a stark reminder of the legal battles ahead, but Keisha refused to let them define her story. She had been broken, yes, but broken things could be rebuilt stronger than before. As dawn broke through the nursery windows, casting soft light across mother and child, Keisha understood that this wasn't just an ending. This was the beginning of something extraordinary. She didn't know how she would manage as a single mother with no steady income and limited support, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She would not let Devin's abandonment determine the trajectory of their lives. Elijah deserved better than a father who could walk away so easily, and Keisha was determined to be everything her son needed and more. The reality of single motherhood hit Keisha like a freight train in the weeks following Elijah's birth. Devin's child support payments were sporadic at best, and her savings dwindled rapidly as medical bills and baby expenses mounted. She spent sleepless nights hunched over her laptop, bouncing Elijah on her knee while searching for remote work opportunities that would allow her to stay home with her infant son. The rejection emails piled up in her inbox, each one a small blow to her already fragile confidence. Her breakthrough came through an online tutoring platform that connected her with students struggling in mathematics and science. Keisha had always excelled academically, graduating with honors from college before marriage, and motherhood redirected her path. Now, those same skills became her lifeline. She scheduled tutoring sessions around Elijah's feeding and nap times, often working late into the night when he finally settled into longer stretches of sleep. The pay wasn't substantial, but it was steady, and most importantly, it was hers. The decision to return to school came during one of those quiet moments when Elijah was sleeping peacefully in his crib. Keisha found herself researching nursing programs, drawn to the stability and purpose the profession offered. She had always been passionate about helping others, and the medical field promised both financial security and personal fulfillment. The application process was daunting for a single mother with an infant, but Keisha approached it with the same determination that had carried her through the early days of motherhood. Nursing school to be one of the most challenging periods of Keisha's life. She would pack Elijah's diaper bag before dawn, drop him off at daycare, attend classes all day, pick him up in the evening, and then study late into the night while he slept. Her classmates, many of whom were younger and without children, would complain about the workload, not understanding that Keisha saw every assignment, every exam, as a stepping stone toward the life she was building for herself and her son. The clinical rotations were particularly difficult, requiring long hours at the hospital and emotional resilience as she encountered patients facing their own struggles. But something remarkable happened during those rotations. Keisha discovered that her experiences as a single mother had given her a unique ability to connect with patients who felt vulnerable and afraid. Her genuine empathy and calming presence didn't go unnoticed by supervisors and colleagues. By the time she graduated with her nursing degree, Keisha had already received a job offer from the local hospital where she had completed her training, a testament to her dedication and natural talent for patient care. Elijah grew up in the quiet corners of libraries and study rooms, coloring in his notebooks while his mother pored over medical textbooks. He learned early that education was sacred in their small family, watching Keisha treat every assignment and exam as a matter of life and death. While other children his age were playing video games or watching cartoons, Elijah was developing an unusual fascination with his mother's nursing textbooks, asking questions about the human body and how doctors help sick people get better. His teachers noticed something special about Elijah from the very beginning. He was curious beyond his years, asking thoughtful questions and showing genuine concern for his classmates when they were hurt or upset. During career day in elementary school, while other children talked about wanting to be firefighters or professional athletes, Elijah stood up and declared his intention to become a doctor. When asked why, his response silenced the room. "So mothers won't have to cry alone in hospitals like my mama did when I was born." The middle school years brought new challenges as Elijah began to understand more about his father's absence. He would sometimes ask questions about Devin, and Keisha always answered honestly, but without bitterness, explaining that some people aren't ready for the responsibility of family. Elijah's response was always the same. He didn't need a father because he had the strongest mother in the world. His academic performance remained exceptional, and he began volunteering at the hospital where Keisha worked, bringing comfort to young patients and observing the doctors with intense focus. High school transformed Elijah into a young man with purpose and direction. He maintained a perfect GPA while participating in science fairs, volunteering at free clinics, and leading study groups for struggling classmates. His teachers were amazed by his maturity and dedication, often commenting that he carried himself like someone much older. The college recruitment letters began arriving during his junior year, full scholarships offered by prestigious universities across the country. But Elijah had his heart set on something specific, a school that would prepare him not just to be a doctor, but to be the kind of doctor who understood struggle and used that understanding to heal others. The transformation was remarkable to witness. The little boy who used to color quietly while his mother studied had become a confident young man with a clear vision for his future. Keisha would watch him explain complex scientific concepts to his younger tutoring students or comfort a crying child at the hospital, and she would see flashes of the doctor he was destined to become. Every sacrifice she had made, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt had led to this, raising a son who would use his gifts to make the world a better place. Elijah's senior year of high school brought unexpected attention when his capstone project went viral on social media. The presentation, titled Raised by Resilience: How Single Motherhood Shaped My Medical Aspirations, included photos and stories from his childhood, documenting Keisha's journey from abandoned wife to successful nurse while raising a future doctor. The project wasn't just academic. It was a love letter to his mother and to every single parent who had ever struggled to provide for their children while pursuing their own dreams. The video of his presentation spread across platforms, reaching millions of viewers who were moved by the young man's eloquence and obvious love for his mother. Comments poured in from single parents around the world, sharing their own stories of struggle and triumph. Major news outlets picked up the story, and within weeks, Keisha found herself sitting next to Elijah on the couch of Good Morning America, both of them still somewhat bewildered by the attention their story had attracted. During the interview, the host asked Elijah about his college plans, mentioning the full ride offers he had received from Harvard, Yale, and other Ivy League institutions. The audience expected him to announce his choice of the most prestigious option, but Elijah surprised everyone. "I'm going to Morehouse College," he said with quiet confidence. "I want to be trained by Black excellence. I want to learn from doctors who understand what it means to overcome obstacles and serve communities that look like mine." The decision sparked conversations about purpose versus prestige, with many praising Elijah's maturity in choosing a path aligned with his values rather than simply selecting the most famous name. At Morehouse, Elijah thrived in an environment that celebrated academic achievement while emphasizing service to the community. He founded an initiative called Keisha's Light, providing scholarships and support services for single mothers pursuing higher education. The program quickly expanded to multiple universities, helping hundreds of women follow paths similar to his mother's journey. Keisha watched her son's growing influence with a mixture of pride and amazement. The little boy she had rocked to sleep while studying for nursing exams was now speaking at conferences and inspiring policy changes in educational institutions across the country. But what moved her most was seeing how he used his platform to honor not just her sacrifice, but the struggles of all single parents who dared to dream of better lives for themselves and their children. Every interview, every speech, every award he received became an opportunity to shine a light on the strength and resilience of single mothers everywhere. Dr. Elijah Williams graduated from Morehouse College at the top of his class, but his achievements were just beginning. Medical school at Howard University, followed by a residency in trauma surgery, established him as one of the most promising young doctors in his field. His specialty in community health and trauma care made perfect sense to those who knew his story. He had chosen to work in the spaces where healing was needed most, serving patients who reminded him of his mother's strength and vulnerability. His reputation as both a skilled surgeon and compassionate healer grew rapidly. Colleagues spoke of his unusual ability to connect with patients and families during their most frightening moments, a gift that clearly stemmed from his own experience watching his mother navigate crisis with grace. Hospitals competed to recruit him, but Elijah chose to remain in his hometown, establishing a practice that served the community where he had been raised. The attempted reconciliation came when Elijah was 24, just as he was completing his residency. Devin appeared at the hospital one day, older and grayer, carrying flowers and what he claimed was a desire to know his son. The conversation was brief and final. Elijah listened politely as Devin explained his regrets and asked for a chance to build a relationship. When Devin finished speaking, Elijah's response was measured but firm. "I already have everything I need. My mother raised me to be whole, not to need someone who walked away when we needed him most." Elijah's 25th birthday celebration became the culmination of everything Keisha had worked toward. The party, held at the hospital where she still worked as a supervisor, was attended by colleagues, friends, and many of the single mothers who had been supported by the Keisha's Light initiative. When it came time for toasts, Elijah stood with tears in his eyes and spoke directly to his mother. "You didn't just raise me," he said, his voice carrying across the room, filled with people whose lives had been touched by their story. "You showed me what strength looks like, what love looks like, what it means to never give up on your dreams or the people you love." Keisha's transformation into a motivational speaker happened naturally, growing out of the countless interviews and speaking engagements that followed their viral fame. Her message was simple but powerful. Pain could be transformed into purpose, and single mothers possessed a strength that could move mountains. She traveled the country, speaking to women who saw their own struggles reflected in her story, proving that the woman who had been abandoned in a hospital delivery room could rise to inspire thousands of others. As she watched Elijah save lives and change communities, Keisha understood that Devon's abandonment hadn't destroyed their family. It had forced them to become something even more beautiful and powerful than they ever could have imagined. Keisha and Elijah's journey proves one thing: your past doesn't define your future. Your determination does. Want more powerful stories of strength, healing, and Black brilliance? Check out the other videos on our channel for more real-life transformations. If this moved you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs a reminder of their own strength. And don't forget to subscribe, because we're just getting started. This is more than a story. This is a movement.